delicious if it's my creed. Cause the sprinkles shine out and let it brightly. It's our solemn mission. Taxation, a cruel invasion, liberty suffocation, a quiet abrasion, with our voices in unison, against the imposition, we stand, we demand, it's our solemn mission.
Chains grow tight under watchful eyes that stifle the light. There's a voice that calls through the shadow of might. Austin Peterson standing up for our fight. Raise the banners, let liberty reign in the heart of America. Break the chains, wake up, it's time to claim our right. With Austin Stephanie, we'll fight the night. Tries to confine. Wake up, America shows us the signs. In the noise of the fray, one truth to define. Our freedom's the star that must always shine. And now a new hope begins to ignite. A baby will come, a new fighter in sight. A family's love, their future bright. Raise the banners, let liberty reign in the heart of America. Break the chains. Stand with Austin and Steph.
Hey, you patriots in the mix, jump on a P4 Liberty shop quick. Get your founding flavors brew. Coffee with a rebel hue.
Keychains jingle freedom's call. Shop for liberty, stand tall.
For the bold, the brave, the free.
A P4 Liberty shop's where you wanna be. So laugh, sip, wear your pride. With every purchase, feel inside that spark of fun, cool and edgy dreams. We're the Patriot shopping regime.
Hey, you patriots in the mix, jump on a P4 Liberty shop quick. Get your founding flavors brew. Coffee with a rebel hue.
Keychains jingle freedom's call. Shop for liberty, stand tall.
For the bold, the brave, the free.
A P4 Liberty shop's where you wanna be. So laugh, sip, wear your pride. With every purchase, feel inside that spark of fun, cool and edgy dreams. We're the Patriot shopping regime.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamerica.show.com. Glad to have you here. How's everybody feeling today? Oh, there's that applause button. Appreciate y'all joining us here live. The people who get up early and are here tuned in, ready to rock first thing in the morning, you guys, the real OGs, I appreciate you very much. Don't forget, click that like button. I know you're a fan. If it's the first time watching the show today and you're saying to yourself, wow, this is really good content, don't forget, before you leave, you gotta hit that follow button so you'll be able to find us again. The show schedule is every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, 2 hours of liberty goodness in the mornings. All right, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Joe Biden asks how many times Trump has to prove that he can't be trusted in his latest gaffe. Joe, you do it to yourself. In a speech in Tampa, Florida yesterday, the president admitted a series of blunders. We've got the video. We're going to play it for you to see how our commander-in-chief is looking this morning. We're going to talk about that. And after that, Stephen Smith, you know, the popular ESPN sports commentator. He has to walk back comments that he made when he compared black people to Trump. No, that's not allowed. You're never gonna believe how he compared black people to Trump. I think it's quite hilarious, but he had to give this 5-minute long apology. I've got the clip of what he said. I've got the clip of his apology. We're going to play it. We're going to react to it. It's going to be awesome. You don't want to miss that. At 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to speak to the judge. Judge Napolitano will be joining us at 8 a.m. Central Time to talk about the allegations of a criminal conspiracy in Trump's latest trial. The tabloid publisher National Enquirer is accusing Donald Trump of a criminal conspiracy that began in 2015. That essentially that there was a secret agreement between Donald Trump and the National Enquirer to catch and kill any potential negative stories about Donald Trump. There was no written agreement. There was no recordings of this. It's just the word of the National Enquirer. And I don't know about you guys, but I believe everything I hear or read or see from the National Enquirer, don't you? They're really bringing out the best. We're going to talk about that this morning at 8 o'clock with Judge Andrew Napolitano an hour from now. You don't want to miss that. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to hear from Cliff Maloney. Might be the last time we hear from him in a while. He's going to be doing a 6-week road trip. We're going to talk to Cliff Maloney about the video that Thomas Massie shared on his X account yesterday, that he is being ordered by Speaker Mike Johnson to take down. That's right. And he's being threatened with a $500 fine if he does not remove this video that showed members of the House of Representatives waving the flag of Ukraine on the floor of the House of Representatives. Never mind that it is against the House rules to wave foreign flags on the floor of the House of Representatives, but nobody's being threatened with a fine for that. Thomas Massie is being threatened with a fine for revealing the people who have sold our country out to an Eastern or Eastern European, Eastern, Western European. It's hard to tell these days. It's all European. European? Or European? I'm a peon. European? We're going to talk about that with Cliff Maloney this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So make sure that you stick around if you want to hear about that and the billions of dollars that they're shoveling out the door of our taxpayers. Didn't we all just pay our taxes last week? Yeah, well, that's where all of your money went. I find it fascinating that we are borrowing money from China, who we hate and despise and want to ban their apps off of our stores here in this country. But we're borrowing money from them so that we can then give it to countries like Ukraine so that they can spend it in a war that they're definitely eventually going to lose. And then we will have wasted all of that money. And then, of course, we will, guess what, be spending money to rebuild Ukraine after Russia takes it over. It just doesn't make any sense. We'll talk to Cliff Maloney about that this morning. It's going to be a great conversation, and you don't want to miss it. Oh, looks like you guys are interested in unlocking some bonus content. I see you over there, Levi. Oh, man, you guys are ordering some interesting stuff over at apforlibertyshop.com. Nice. Somebody just used the coupon code. That means that we have already gotten over halfway towards our goal to unlock today's bonus content. The theme of this week's bonus content is the true conspiracies. And yesterday we went through the mini documentary that you unlocked was the Watergate conspiracy. On Monday, we talked about the business plot conspiracy. So the theme of this week's bonus content is all true conspiracies. So now we've already hit our $40 goal this morning. So if you would like to see that mini documentary get unlocked, all we have to do is raise $20 by the end of the show. I think we can do that, don't you? And you'll get to see today's bonus content. So you can make a Rumble rant, or you can head over to apforlibertyshop.com and use that coupon code that our gentleman friend used this morning to buy some shoes. You can save 15% off of all of our shoes at AP for Liberty Shop today if you use the code LACEUP, LACEUP. So if you want to buy a pair of Javier Malaya Fueras or our patriotic American flag sneakers or the Ron Paul sneakers, we've got a bunch of awesome shoes over at apforlibertyshop.com. So there you go. Floby Tenderson got himself some Mises flip-flops. There you go. And he saved 15% using that code LACE UP. There you go. That was smart. That was very smart. So now we've only got to raise 20 more bucks and we will unlock today's bonus content. That'll be awesome. Then you don't have to watch commercials. Isn't that cool? Okay. All right, let's talk about the news. Let's check in on the commander-in-chief, see how our illustrious president of the United States, Joe Biden, is doing these days in his speech in Tampa, Florida yesterday.
In a sense, I don't know why we're surprised by Trump. How many times does he have to prove we can't be trusted?
How many times does he have to prove that we can't be trusted? Well, I don't know, Mr. Biden. It sounds as if you're doing a pretty good job of that yourself. Oh, congratulations. You guys just unlocked the bonus content. Wow. Was not expecting that. Fred wanted himself a pair of those Betsy Ross flag men's high top sneakers, and he saved $9 on those this morning. So good for you, brother. There you go. Wow. So you guys have unlocked the bonus content, which means that when it's commercial time a little bit later, instead of playing commercials for you, I will play the bonus content so that you get to enjoy the beautiful mini documentary that I produced for you today about a true conspiracy. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And kudos to you for using those coupon codes. Lace up. If you were looking at buying a pair of shoes or flip-flops over at AP for Liberty Shop, today's the day. Use that coupon code, Lace Up. All right. What did Mr. President say again?
In a sense, I don't know why we're surprised by Trump. How many times does he have to prove we can't be trusted?
I love that the audience actually hears it and gets it.
Trusted.
All right. And he went on to say things like this.
You know, if I have my way in the next 4 years, I'm going to make community college free. And it'll grow the economy. It won't cost the taxpayers.
Whoa, wait. What was that last part there? Now, hold on. I've heard some stupid stuff from this guy, but he says that government funded, let's say it's called taxpayer funded, free college, he says, won't cost the taxpayers. How does that work exactly?
It'll grow the economy. It won't cost the taxpayers.
How do you pay for college without there being some fees to the taxpayers? Do you have some kind of magical money printing machine over there? Yes, I know you're going to say the Federal Reserve. You're going to say that they're going to inflate the money, but that's still a tax. Inflation is just taxation without legislation. Thank you, Milton Friedman. What else did Mr. President have to say yesterday in Tampa?
You lost your phone. Get that man his phone. He's going to be in trouble. Or that woman a phone.
Get that man a phone. You gotta be real careful if you're a Democrat these days and you label anybody a gender, one gender or another. But he seemed to have trouble identifying the gender of one of the people who was in attendance yesterday, which if you're at a Democrat rally is probably pretty common.
You lost your phone. Get that man his phone. He's going to be in trouble. Or that woman a phone.
Careful, Mr. President. You're going to get yourself in trouble. What else did he have to say? No, well, not to say necessarily, but he did that thing that he's become known for these days where when he walks off stage, he goes to shake hands with the ghost. Watch this. What in the hell is that? Okay, watch it again, right? So he and then he kind of he looks at the ghost and then he smiles at the ghosts. So he kind of stumbles over. Now, hold on one second. I got to do that an impression of that for just 1 second. So watch me. This is what he does. I kind of launches off the stage. Hold on. I got to put the microphone away so you can see me. You know what I'm saying? The listeners to the audio podcast version of this are going to be very confused when they listen to this later. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Glad to have you here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's nice to see you here. If today is your first time watching the show, I'd love to have you become a regular guest. We do stream this show live Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So we'd love to have you become a regular viewer of the show if you haven't already. make sure you do click that like button and share us with your friends. We'd be glad to have more people make your acquaintance on the Wake Up America show. Today, we are having a great time talking about this and like that, this and like that. If you missed the show yesterday, I did an interview with a young man about his freedom-based AI, and I'm going to replay that interview for those who might have missed it because I thought it was fantastic. So much of artificial intelligence these days is woke and won't answer basic questions that you might ask it about our ideas. The image generation tools that I typically use to make graphics for this show won't generate images of Joe Biden or Donald Trump anymore. So now there is a new kid on the block, and it's a liberty-based artificial intelligence. And I'm really excited to introduce this gentleman to you if you missed that interview again yesterday. But before we get there, Stephen A. Smith, of ESPN fame, made some comments on Fox News that he had, or on his own show that was played on Fox News. And I'll play the clip for you. He's in big trouble for comparing Donald Trump to black people. Take a listen.
But I got to tell you something. As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. So no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that because we know we have. And
Damn, G. Okay, you cannot say things like that and not have the left come after you. Now, look at his face here in this frame, right, where you can see Stephen Smith, and you can tell that he's speaking from the heart. Now, look at his face in this next clip. Oh, boy. Oh, he does not look happy. He does not look happy. You can tell that the NAACP got to him. Here's what the NAACP tweeted. Relatable? Question mark, exclamation point. Show of hands. Anyone in your black family have 88 felony charges pending, filed for bankruptcy 6 times? Are you asking that question seriously, NAACP? I mean, be careful, Austin. Filed for bankruptcy 6 times, made an attempt to overthrow a presidential election in a democracy. Okay, so yeah, you got Donald Trump there, and still have the ability to fall asleep in court and dream of being president. Are you trying to tell me, NAACP, that black people cannot relate to at least 4 out of 5 of those things? I'm going to hell for sure. Anyway, so Stephen Smith made those comments yesterday. The NAACP comes after him. The left is on a tear, and now he has to look like this, and he has to apologize.
I wanted to touch on something that I made news about just a few days ago.
See, this is what happens when you work for the mainstream media, okay? You can't have the kinds of opinions that Stephen Smith has and say the kinds of things that he says and have a job in the mainstream media. You can have a show like the Wake Up America show. You can have a podcast, right? You can be like Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan. You can have free speech to an extent here in the alternative media. You cannot say things like that and have a job at ESPN and make the big millions here. You just cannot say things like that. That's why he has to be apologetic.
I wanted to touch on something that I made news about just a few days ago.
Tell us, Steve.
Let me say this, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's hear it.
Accountability is where everything needs to begin in this world. It's something I say quite often. I certainly never hesitate to hold folks accountable when mistakes or mishaps occur. So I'm certainly not about to run from it myself. I'm fully aware that I've been in the news over the last few days, paraded all over social media as well, after comments I made during my appearance on Fox News' Hannity last week with the one and only Sean Hannity himself. And I'm fully aware of the outcry that has ensued because of it. A lot of folks in Black America seem pretty pissed at me right now.
No, they're not. The black people who are pissed at you are professional outrage smear merchants, okay? It's the NAACP. the black people, the rest of the black people around the country, they probably agree with you, Stephen. They probably think that you're right. Or they're too busy working their asses off, trying to get ahead to take care of themselves or their family. They don't have time to be outraged at you. These are professional smear merchants. See, the thing is that probably what Stephen Smith knows is the truth is that he's worried about his own job. He's worried about his own career in the mainstream media. Again, this is not about principles or telling the truth or anything like that. This is all about self-preservation. And listen, to some extent, I don't blame a guy, right? It takes balls to walk away. Not everybody's like Don Lemon and gets fired from the mainstream media and then goes and starts their own alternative show. It's scary out here. I'll tell you, when you're working in the alternative media, trying to do what I'm trying to do here, or what other people who are doing podcasts and trying to monetize and make a living doing this are doing, this is scary, right? Like, it is definitely a dog world. It's a Shark Tank in the mainstream media world. I've worked in it. I've been there. I've done that. But there's comfort there. There is a cloak of protection that is surrounding you of all of the money and in the executives and of the teams of cameramen and producers, right? Like, I am a mini Fox News here, right? I have to do absolutely everything. I'm setting up the camera in the mornings. I'm plugging in the wires. I'm setting up the audio. I'm checking the microphones. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. Stephen Smith doesn't want to do that. Okay. Don Lemon didn't want to do that. Right. These people who work in the mainstream media, and again, like, I shouldn't give them a pass maybe, but I'll just say this. These guys, they don't want to have to be put in a situation where they might have to be alone. It's dangerous out here. It's dangerous out here. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Smith failed. Never apologize. He's done now, Frickety says. Mighty Megatron over in the Rumble chat says Hillary probably called him and told him he doesn't know anything about black people. Anyways, let's let him talk for a minute or two before we cut him off.
Friends and loved ones, to colleagues, contemporaries, and dare I say even the NAACP itself. Quite a few folks were put off, if not flat out offended, after my words were interpreted.
And that's what this
as
is about.
Associating support for Trump from the black community with all the legal issues he's facing.
Well, they're terrified, too, of the minorities who are leaving the Democratic Party in droves because of wokeism, transgender ideology, and because of the open border policies of the Democrats. And so certainly when an actual representative of the black community says things like that, comparing Trump to black people, the professional smear merchants like the NAACP are going to do everything they can to put him back in his place, or they're going to cancel him. He's going to lose his job. And the guy probably makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I mean, listen, I would have more respect for him if he did quit and didn't stop and backed up his comments and didn't back down. But again, you can't always ask everybody to fall on their sword. You know, sometimes you got to have people on the inside. I get it.
For that, I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right here for the record that my words were taken out of context.
So wait a minute. Bullshit. That's...
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
No, your words were not misconstrued or taken out of context. These were your words.
Tell you something. As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. So no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that.
Does anybody here emanate from a race?
Because we know we have. And that's what he articulated. But I got to tell you something. As much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody took that out of context, Stephen.
Misrepresenting and depicting me in a way I found every bit as insulting and disrespectful as folks in black America evidently felt about what they thought I said.
Look what they're doing. I mean, the fact that he has to apologize proves his point that it's going to show that the black people are being kept down in this country. You can't have an opinion that goes outside what the NAACP allows you to say. You're not allowed to have these opinions. Don't lie to me now, Steven. Now Steven's lying. He wasn't lying before, but now he's lying, right? Telling us that we're taking his words out of context. He was right the first time.
But I'll own it anyway.
Well, you'll own it. It was taken out of context, but you'll own it anyway. God, dude, this guy.
Because please know that I know the buck stops with me.
Please.
I'm in the
Does the buck stop with you, or were your words misconstrued or taken out of context, Steven?
communication business. I've been here for 30 years, so.
I make hundreds of millions of dollars, and I sure as hell don't want to have to be able to not make a payment on my boat.
Regardless of whatever interpretation that accompanies any words coming out of my mouth, the responsibility ultimately lies with me first and foremost before anybody else. I've always felt that way. I still do.
All right, well, that's enough of that. Cringe. All right, well, we got lots more great show to go for you. I want to introduce you to a gentleman by the name of John Arrow. He's created a new artificial intelligence platform called Liberty or Freedom GPT. If you've ever used any AI program in the last year, you've probably realized, just like me, that most of these software programs written by Google or Microsoft or what have you are all woke as hell. But there is hope on the horizon. Now that you guys have unlocked the bonus content, instead of having to watch commercials as we go to our break before we play the video for you, you guys get to enjoy the documentary today, True Conspiracies. Enjoy it. Thanks for unlocking the bonus content and supporting the Wake Up America show. And we'll be right back after this on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. America Show bonus content looks at another true conspiracy. In this episode, we examine COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret war. 60 years ago, the FBI launched COINTELPRO to destroy the left, a mission rooted in the government's fear of a rebellious populace. This operation wasn't just a far-right conspiracy, but an actual historical event targeting leftist organizations for surveillance and disruption. Unlike the targets of far-right fears, COINTELPRO targeted the left, initiating operations in 1956, aimed at undermining groups and individuals seen as national security threats. This included various movements from the civil rights era to anti-war protesters. By the time COINTELPRO was formally ended, it had dismantled numerous leftist movements, damaging reputations and lives in the process. This dark chapter in history shows the lengths a government might go to suppress perceived threats. COINTELPRO began amid 1950s anti-communist hysteria, viewing every act of resistance as Soviet-influenced. This sentiment grew as opposition to various social injustices increased throughout the 1960s. The FBI labeled those involved in these movements as enemies, launching a secret war against them. This was substantiated by the Church Committee in 1975, which revealed the extensive surveillance and interference operations carried out by the FBI. High-level government officials were aware and supportive of COINTELPRO, indicating broad complicity in these operations. Clarence Kelly, Hoover's successor, defended these actions as necessary for national security. The FBI targeted various groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, reluctantly, but mostly focused on leftist organizations like the Communist Party USA, the Socialist Workers' Party, and groups advocating for civil rights and racial equality. Key targets also included the Puerto Rican independence movement and the American Indian movement, with the FBI using disruptive tactics to weaken these groups internally. The infamous tactics included wiretaps, false communications, and fostering internal conflicts within groups, aiming to undermine their cohesion and public image. The FBI's efforts weren't limited to groups. They spread false rumors and misinformation to create distrust and paranoia, as evidenced by their campaigns against prominent activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and others. One notorious tactic was sending anonymous letters designed to sow discord and mistrust within movements, such as those sent to disrupt the Black Panthers and other organizations. These letters not only created internal strife, but also occasionally incited violence, as seen when the FBI tried to provoke conflict between street gangs and the Black Panthers.
The FBI also relied on planting disinformation in the media to discredit movements, such as fabricating stories about the personal lives of activists and leaders to tarnish their reputations. Break-ins and theft of sensitive information were routine, with the FBI conducting numerous burglaries to gather intelligence on leftist groups, demonstrating their disregard for legal boundaries. The media often played a complicit role, helping to disseminate false information fed by the FBI, which significantly damaged the public image and effectiveness of various movements. The case of actress John Seberg exemplifies the extremity of the FBI's tactics, where false rumors about her personal life led to tragic consequences, highlighting the human cost of COINTELPRO. Overall, COINTELPRO represents a significant abuse of power by the FBI, using counterintelligence tactics against domestic political movements, leaving a legacy of distrust and injustice that echoes into modern times.
Online, I found this next young man who is creating the next generation of non-woke AI. His name's John Arrow, and he's joining us live right now. Good morning, John. Welcome to the Wake Up America show.
Thanks, Austin. It's great to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your project, Freedom GPT. What's it all about?
So I, like everybody else, had this moment a little over a year ago when OpenAI released ChatGPT. I was so excited about it. I had been running companies previously. I've sold companies in the AI space. And when I heard about ChatGPT, I said, okay, this is amazing for humanity. And first thing I did was, ask a few questions, got some amazing responses. And then I asked a question that was seemingly innocuous. Lo and behold, it refused to answer it. In fact, I remember ChatGPT scolding me for even asking the question. And I thought, oh no, this is not good. And as a result, I realized I kind of had a duty as somebody who is in the AI space, who realizes the potential of where this technology is going, to create Freedom GPT, not just to have no non-woke models, but to have all models. And I think as the capability of this technology increases, the desire to censor it, the desire to kind of keep under control of what it could do is just going to progress. And right now it's pretty obvious, right? If you ask Google to create, a founding father, it might give you something clearly that's not that. And that's horrible. But what's really dangerous is when it becomes more insidious and they start giving you things that are so subtle that you can't detect that that's not the true answer. So if you go to Freedom GPT, you get to see all the models that are out there. We have one model called Liberty. You can ask Liberty anything and it will give you an answer. Our belief is it's not our role to censor things. Let's let the people decide what the people want to use.
I'd love to hear that, John, and I certainly think that the audience for the Wake Up America show is definitely keen to find out more about your project. But we'd also like to learn a little bit more about you yourself. You say you work in the AI space. You saw an opportunity to create Freedom GPT. Who are you, John? And what motivated you to do this, essentially?
So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've never had a boss in my life. I was really fortunate that grew up here in Austin, Texas. Lots of entrepreneurship opportunities. I founded a company in college at the University of Texas called Mutual Mobile, and we scaled that from 0 to 400 people. So we bootstrapped that. We didn't rely on venture capital or anything like that. And as a result, we were exposed to a lot of different technology. So we helped Fortune 1000 build things that they needed. We did stuff with Internet of Things, autonomous cars, and a lot of what we touched was with AI. And from really early on, I realized that this was going to be as significant as electricity for Americans and for citizens of the world. And the difference between having electricity and not having electricity, it's unfathomable. It's difficult to even imagine that time. And so I think AI is kind of like that utility. And ever since that I became immersed in it, I realized we need to make sure that people have access to this technology and they have access to it in a way that it isn't changed behind their back. And what's been just so crazy, and I'm no fan of censorship, but the amount of ridicule, the amount of hate mail that I've gotten out of this is just immense. And not only from, people that are kind of, just not familiar with the project, from larger companies. We've gotten cease and desist from really large companies. You cannot even mention freedomgpt.com on any Meta property. So if you try to send it even in a private message on Facebook or on Instagram, that's not going through. And you have to ask why. What is that? What's going on there?
God bless Rumble.com because they really stepped up last year when I got demonetized on YouTube. I said this is not a good place for me to be because even though it's funny because I'm not some insane far right radical doing Sig Heil or I'm not a white supremacist, right, or anything like that. But if you're to the right of Joseph Stalin in any way, then you're not welcome on most of these platforms. But thanks to Rumble.com, it's more of a free speech video platform. I'm able to have conversations with people like yourself and to talk about things like this. I don't invest. And listen, I need social media in order to advance my ideas, in order for me to advertise, let people know that the Wake Up America show exists. But I don't invest time or money into meta properties. I don't invest time or money into any social media that I think long term it doesn't have my best interest at heart and is going to get rid of me at any point in time. But when it comes to Chat GPT or when it comes to Mid Journey, for example, image creation, unfortunately, I need these technologies to be able to give myself the advantage as a content creator to create the kind of content that I couldn't do before these technologies existed. And my audience, who they're very loyal, they tune into the show every morning, they love what I'm able to produce and create content wise here. But I would rather give my money, if I'm going to give it to anybody, to Freedom GPT if I can still do the same things as good or better as I would with Midjourney, which, for those who don't know, is an image generation tool that I use to create the images for this show. And then ChatGPT, which helps me to create titles, product descriptions for my website that I wouldn't be able to have the time for if I didn't use those technologies. So let's talk about what Freedom GPT can do for people. What is it capable of doing now, and what are you planning on adding to it in the future?
Well, to your point, AI has become indispensable. I mean, it is something that you really need. It's a necessity right now to produce content. If you are, dealing with a legal issue, it's great because you can get feedback from there. There's no privilege, unfortunately, but there's so many roles for it, and so it's not an option not to have it, right? You have to have it. And so at Freedom GPT, one of the things that we said is let's put as many models that are out there as possible. So we're basically a decentralized AI marketplace. There's 80 models. We have everything from text-based LLMs, text to video, text to image. You can even make music out there. You can use it to do phone calls. So maybe you don't want, maybe United Airlines lost your phone, you're back. You can just say, call United Airlines for me and deal with this issue. And our belief too is that you shouldn't necessarily need to pay for this technology. Obviously, some of these models cost money. But one of the things that we realized is our hosts, the people that we were paying money to, didn't want us there either. They canceled our hosting contracts. Just pulled the plug. We were paying them many thousands of dollars a month. They didn't warn us. They just said, nope, we don't want you there. And the only reason was because somebody complained. And I guarantee you it was probably because our LLM said the wrong political thing and the host just didn't want to deal with it. And
or maybe it was Mark Zuckerberg just saying, hey, we don't want the competition.
It could have been. And I think that, it's a free marketplace. People can decide who they want to do business with and who they don't want to do business with. And we realized, conventional centralized web hosts didn't want to do business with us. At the same point, we didn't feel like we should be, paying them to try to switch from one host to another. So one of the things that we did is we let people run this locally now. You can download this to your desktop computer. And if you have a good computer, if you're technologically inclined, even in the least, you can run this completely free. And the way that we're able to offer it for free is for people who aren't, or for people who want to use this on their phone, it will process inference. So inference is when you ask a prompt, when you ask a question, well, the computer kind of hashes away and figures out what the optimum answer is. So what our nodes do, our desktop users provide that inference for the people that are using it into the cloud, and then those people are rewarded. And so we have this closed ecosystem there where if you contribute your computer, you can actually, when you're not using it, you can actually use all of our models for free, even paid ones like ChatGPT 4.
Wow, I'm thoroughly impressed by what you've been able to accomplish so far, John. But you faced the challenge of being kicked off your servers. I know that Rumble just launched their own cloud service. Did you find a freedom-friendly cloud for you guys to be able to operate in?
We have one. It's one of those ones I don't even want to say it because as soon as I say it, probably didn't get so much pressure to be shut down.
Don't say it.
But I think we're operating on borrowed time here. This summer, there's an executive order that goes into effect concerning AI in June. And it's pretty damning if you read it. I mean, it's going to basically say that users of AI, not even the companies, the users themselves are going to be subjected to KYC, AML regulations. So in the same way that you transmit money and businesses have to get your information, your social security number, who you are, that's going to start to apply in a phased way to AI, which is absolutely crazy that to use a piece of technology, why does there need to be a record of who you are? And so going back to your question of do we find an AI-friendly host that's centralized? We actually did. For now, we know we're operating on borrowed time there. It's just a matter of time before that host feels the pressure and pulls the plug. And so with our network of nodes now, we can be completely decentralized. Our goal is to eventually throw away the keys to Freedom GPT and to become a project where it is operating in a distributed way that can't be shut down by us or anybody.
So what you're saying is you're just waiting for the day for Skynet to become self-aware?
Yes, I'm optimistic about it. I think that humanity's best days are ahead of it. I mean, AI is such a leveling technology, not only from a production of content standpoint, but from a consumption, right? For the first time, when you hear some rhetoric, you can throw that audio into the LLM or the AI model of your choice and say, hey, deconstruct this. Tell me where this person's right. Tell me where this person's wrong. And it's so critical, I feel like, to our sovereignty to be able to have that type of tool at our disposal. And I understand why people don't want us to have it.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to John Arrow. He's the founder of Freedom GPT, a liberty-based artificial intelligence software program which allows you to ask any question that you want and get any answer that you want. Our friend Kermode Bear over on the chat, he's one of our regular guests and a good friend of the show, said that he visited Freedom GPT during the program. He says, Freedom GPT is telling me how to summon a demon step by step. Chat GPT yells at me if I ask. Let us know which demon you ended up summoning there, Kermode. That's the kind of stuff that terrifies people. So Kermode, stop scaring people. John, I'm curious, you say that you're living on borrowed time. So your hope is essentially that you'll get to the point where Freedom GPT is decentralized enough that it won't matter what service it's running on, so it'll essentially be operating almost in a way sort of like Bitcoin?
It's a great way to phrase it. Right now, we have over 2 million people that have used Freedom GPT. We have to operate and conform to the laws in the districts and around the world that we operate in. That being said, the laws themselves are changing. And so our goal is to kind of not wait around and see what happens. It's to figure out how to completely decentralize it, just like Bitcoin. And I think that now is the perfect time to do it because we're aware of the censorship and the biases put onto these models. One of the things that many people don't know is if they go and they use ChatGPT or if they use Google Gemini and they ask a question, it's not just the answer that's censored, their question is modified before it's given to the computer. So again, I'm a huge fan of diversity. I love diversity. But if you say, give me a picture of a workplace environment, Google Gemini will modify your prompt to say, give me an inclusive, diverse image of workplace diversity with many different genders and many different people. And you're not even aware that it's happening. And that's Orwellian right there.
That is correct. Yeah, I remember that story from a few weeks ago. Google Gemini was creating images of the founding fathers that were black, like it was a production of Hamilton the musical. I produce a lot of content about the founding fathers and about history, and I can't use a lot of these AI programs because they will make them diverse like that. However, Mid-Journey, which has refused now to create any images surrounding the president of the United States, Joe Biden, or former President Donald Trump, it's severely hampering my creativity and my workflow. There are other image generation tools out there, but they're just really not as good as Mid-Journey. So is Freedom GPT capable of generating images, or is that something that you're looking to add in the future?
We have that today. We have a model called Medusa, and Medusa is a text-to-image uncensored synthesizer. And so basically, you can say whatever you want, and it will show you that. And I think one of the great things about that is it allows you to kind of unlock use cases that you couldn't before. We have physicians, people who are in the medical practice that are using AI as a tool to study. If you ask for a gruesome picture on Midjourney or Dolly, it's not going to show you it. But sometimes if you're a trauma surgeon, you need to see things like that. And so it's really kind of fascinating to see how people use these tools. And you were mentioning about Google Gemini and about how it was giving you kind of images that weren't consistent with history. We can kind of chuckle about that today. It's kind of almost a funny thing. What's alarming is soon we aren't going to know the difference. When it becomes more subtle, the way that AI is misaligned with us or deceiving us, that's when it becomes extremely dangerous and almost impossible to reverse. I think we have a really short window here to give people the models that they need. Ultimately, can AI be misused? Absolutely. It's just like anything else. I believe bad guys are always going to figure out how to get the weapons and misuse them for things. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't need weapons, but unfortunately we do. I think what it really comes down to is, do you believe there's more good people or bad people in the world? I believe there's more good people. And if the bad actors are going to get the most powerful pieces of technology, I sure as hell want the good guys to get it as well. And that's what AI is.
John, that's a great attitude, and it sounds like you and I are fellow travelers when it comes to that. At least aligned from a freedom view. I'll give you this pledge. I'm going to start using Freedom GPT, and if it's as good or better as the tools I'm paying for the other day, I'll definitely make the switch. And I'd like to ask my listeners if they use AI to consider testing out Freedom GPT themselves today, and if it's as good or better for whatever it is that you're doing, that you consider supporting people who support you and your ideas of liberty. John, is there anything else? I mean, a lot of my people are activists, and they do tend to be active. Is there anything else that you think that they should know, or is there anything you'd like to ask from my audience, or tell them what to do before we go?
I want to thank you for their mission and what you're doing with spreading liberty. And what I just want to say is things can change really fast as it relates to AI getting more capable. I do think within the next year it's going to get regulated so that it becomes impossible to probably download some of these local models. So what I would encourage the users to do, whether they're ready to use Freedom GPT now or not, it's completely free. If you download the desktop application, you have it on your computer, and then at some point, our government or you're traveling, some government decides you can't access AI, well, you still have it downloaded to your computer. It can run locally. Doesn't need to go to the internet if you're using the local models. It's completely private. You don't have to worry about a data leak that way. And so I would just say it's better to have and not need it and keep using AI how you're using it rather than not having it and being unable to get it.
There you go. I'm going to be using that software as soon as I get off the show here to put everything together. Hey, John, appreciate you very much. I have my chat already dropping the link there to freedomgpt.com. Appreciate what you're doing. Keep in touch with us if there's any updates or anything that you'd like to share with our audience again in the future. We'd love to have you back. Good luck with your project and have a great day.
Thanks, Austin. Great to be here.
Thanks very much. And we're back. What do you guys think of John? Good stuff, right? Every once in a while, I like to do a replay whenever I get an interview that I think is really hot or exclusive or something that is very important that I want to share with you again. So if you missed it yesterday, you got to see it today. If you watched it yesterday, well, now you know even more. Thanks so much for watching the Wake Up America show and joining us today. We've already unlocked the bonus content. Thank you very much for that. All the people who went over to apforlibertyshop.com and bought merchandise this morning, we appreciate you very much. Thank you for your support of the Wake Up America show. I can't tell you just how exciting it is to be able to do what I love on a daily basis and to be able to monetize it effectively enough to be able to not only raise my family and pay the bills on a monthly basis, but I'm also able to take that money and invest it in more content or sometimes just replace equipment whenever it gets broken around here. It's me and my lovely wife, Stephanie. Have you seen her new show, by the way, Hustling and Homemaking? Her third episode just dropped yesterday or Monday, actually. For those who are members of our locals pages, you actually got to see it 24 hours early. So give it up for all of our local subscribers. Stephanie's new show, Hustling and Homemaking, is just the beginning of a new network of libertarian content that I'm piecing together bit by bit here. As the host of the Wake Up America show, my dream is not just to have a successful morning talk show podcast like the one that you're watching right now, monetized not only directly through the direct support of viewers and listeners like yourself, but also through a merchandise store. And in that way, when you make purchases at the shop, you're helping us to be able to do things like create more content, like Stephanie's new show, Hustling and Homemaking. And I am grateful to all of you out there for your support. I'd like to have a brief conversation with you before we have Judge Napolitano on about this new move by the Federal Trade Commission to ban non-compete contracts. But before we do, I'd like to ask those of you, I'm speaking specifically now to not people who are watching the show today for the first time or who are maybe you've watched the Wake Up America show for a couple of weeks and you just kind of have just recently started to tune in a little bit more recently. I'm speaking now to people who have kind of been around for a little while. Maybe you've been lurking on the edges a little bit and you haven't introduced yourself, or maybe you have and you're starting to make friends with people in the Rumble chat and you're starting to get to know this community a little bit. For the people who have been sticking around for a bit, not our super hardcore regulars like Joni Rankin and Camellia Peterson, but the people who are kind of in the middle there, who are really enjoying the content, tuning in regularly, have been around for a while. Maybe you're starting to see the value that we bring here as producers of this content on a 5-day-a-week basis. Maybe you've watched Stephanie's hustling and homemaking videos and you'd like to see more content like what you're watching here, except writ large, more full-length documentaries. Maybe even one day we start to have an actual network that produces 12 hours of content a day and has a 24-hour live stream full of great shows like the Wake Up America show. If that's something that you would like to see to help us build the Libertarian Network, I'd like to ask you for one single solitary thing. I'd like to ask for your help in building this network. And here's how you can do it: by making a small monthly contribution. I know I'm going to sound like PBS here, but these shows brought to you by viewers like you. Yes, except we're not woke, right? If you want to see a future where all of the propaganda that Hollywood has created can actually be overtaken by ideas that support the American Revolution, 1776, the founding fathers, people like Thomas Massie and Senator Rand Paul and others. If you'd like to see a future for media that supports these kinds of ideas, Tea Party ideas, right? Then I'd like to ask you to become a monthly contributor to the Wake Up America show. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that. And it doesn't have to be much. We do have people who donate $17.76 a month. These are our hardcore patriots. We call them Peterson's Patriots. They donate $17.76 a month. And I know that's a lot for some people. And I know that these are hard times financially. So if you can do that, great. If not, what I would really like to ask for those of you who I'm speaking to directly to do today is to just become a $5 a month subscriber. Now, I'm not asking for something that I'm not going to give something back to. We do offer a 20% discount at apforlibertyshop.com for all of our monthly subscribers. There are a couple of ways that you can become a monthly subscriber, but the best way to do it is to go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. At wakeupAmericaShow.com/support, that's our website, you'll see all the different tiers of support levels. And one of them is, I believe it's the Freedom Ninja level, is $5 a month. The reason why that's the best is because we get to keep the most amount of money. We only have to lose money in terms of a transaction fee from a credit card, and we get most of that directly. But you can also do it at rumble.com as well, too, or through YouTube. But consider that if you want to support Rumble, that's a great idea. I don't recommend it on YouTube just because I think one day they took it all of our subscriptions away last year. And I don't think it's a good idea to do it through YouTube. Some people do, and that's fine. And they like to watch the show on YouTube. And I put it up on YouTube for the 7 to 9 people who watch it there in the morning. That's fine. But what I recommend you do is, if today's the day that you feel, okay, I would like to see a future for libertarian content like this. I would like to see more things like hustling and homemaking with Stephanie Peterson. I would like to see more libertarian shows, or maybe even a 12-hour network that produces content like what you're watching now. Then I'd like to ask you to right now go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make a monthly contribution to the network. $5 a month is what I'm asking for. I think it's not too much to invest in the future of freedom. The truth is that the left spends millions and billions of dollars producing content like this to advance their ideas and their cause. We've got to do the same thing. If we there's this saying Morton Blackwell always said from the American Conservative Union in his laws of the public policy process: you can't do any freedom fighting if you can't pay the rent. And we need to support our freedom fighters, because there are so very few of us out there who are actively producing this kind of content and who are actively trying to keep these ideas alive. And remember this: it's not just a podcast. I'm not just a talker. I'm also a doer. For those of you who pay close attention and who are my heart of hearts and the biggest supporters, the Peterson's Patriot Crew, you know that I'm not just doing freedom fighting part-time. I'm on the weekends. I'm out at my Republican delegate caucus running for office. I put my name on the line several times. I'm not just a talker. I'm also a doer. And that's why I think that this investment in my show and in my network is a wise investment for the future of liberty in this country. So head to wakeupAmericashow.com/support, make a $5 contribution a month, and you'll get back a discount code for 20% off at apforlibertyshop.com. There we go. Okay, yes. So before we have Judge Andrew Napolitano joining us on the show, I wanted to briefly talk about this decision by the FTC to ban employers from using non-compete contracts to prevent most workers from joining rival firms. It's a fascinating conversation, I think, that we could have about this. And I'll ask Judge Napolitano about this as well, even though I kind of know where he's going to go, obviously, that people have the right to engage in contracts voluntarily to do as they please. Now, you can't sell yourself into slavery in this country because of the 13th Amendment, but maybe that will be a fun question to kind of poke fun with Judge Knapp about that in about 10 minutes. But I would say this, that if you've never employed someone, especially in this business, the media business where your reputation is everything, there need to be the types of contracts that you can create in order to be able to protect your reputation from rogue employees that that might not have your best interest at heart and want to try and destroy your career and maybe steal trade secrets and things like that and take them to new employers. So I oppose this measure by the FTC to do things like this. I understand the arguments from the other side that many times employees are roped into contracts and sign into contracts that they don't understand, and the terms of which some of them never run out. I'm hearing about this contract that Steven Crowder had with his former producer, Not Gay Jared, that apparently he was not allowed to go work in other media institutions for his entire career. That seems a bit too much. That seems a bit egregious. But 3 to 5 years seems reasonable. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think about the FTC banning non-compete contracts? First of all, why are they writing laws, essentially? The FTC shouldn't have this kind of power authority. If they're going to do something like this, which I don't support, then it should be done by Congress, right? But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Non-compete contracts, do you have a strong opinion about it? Send me a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Again, you see that text line there at the bottom of your show. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you have a question for Judge Andrew Napolitano, he's going to join us live in 5 at 573-319-1586. One listener texted in this morning and said, "Dude, my wife is going to kill me with these shoes. This is my third pair from the shop. LOL. I really like them, though, so she can go back to the kitchen and make me a damn sandwich." Careful, bud. I think that might be Floby Tenderson. Oh, no, it's Frickety who is buying shoes from the Wake Up America show's merchandise shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Appreciate all your support, guys. Thank you very much for that. Enjoy the bonus content here on the show. I'll play it for you right now. You can watch and listen to the mini documentary True Conspiracy while I go get Judge Napolitano and be right back. Excuse me. On the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America show bonus content looks at another true conspiracy. In this episode, we examine COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret war. 60 years ago, the FBI launched COINTELPRO to destroy the left, a mission rooted in the government's fear of a rebellious populace. This operation wasn't just a far-right conspiracy, but an actual historical event targeting leftist organizations for surveillance and disruption. Unlike the targets of far-right fears, COINTELPRO targeted the left, initiating operations in 1956, aimed at undermining groups and individuals seen as national security threats. This included various movements from the civil rights era to anti-war protesters. By the time COINTELPRO was formally ended, it had dismantled numerous leftist movements, damaging reputations and lives in the process. This dark chapter in history shows the lengths a government might go to suppress perceived threats. COINTELPRO began amid 1950s anti-communist hysteria, viewing every act of resistance as Soviet-influenced. This sentiment grew as opposition to various social injustices increased throughout the 1960s. The FBI labeled those involved in these movements as enemies, launching a secret war against them. This was substantiated by the Church Committee in 1975, which revealed the extensive surveillance and interference operations carried out by the FBI. High-level government officials were aware and supportive of COINTELPRO, indicating broad complicity in these operations. Clarence Kelly, Hoover's successor, defended these actions as necessary for national security. The FBI targeted various groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, reluctantly, but mostly focused on leftist organizations like the Communist Party USA, the Socialist Workers' Party, and groups advocating for civil rights and racial equality. Key targets also included the Puerto Rican independence movement and the American Indian movement, with the FBI using disruptive tactics to weaken these groups internally. The infamous tactics included wiretaps, false communications, and fostering internal conflicts within groups, aiming to undermine their cohesion and public image. The FBI's efforts weren't limited to groups. They spread false rumors and misinformation to create distrust and paranoia, as evidenced by their campaigns against prominent activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and others. One notorious tactic was sending anonymous letters designed to sow discord and mistrust within movements, such as those sent to disrupt the Black Panthers and other organizations. These letters not only created internal strife, but also occasionally incited violence, as seen when the FBI tried to provoke conflict between street gangs and the Black Panthers. The FBI also relied on planting disinformation in the media to discredit movements, such as fabricating stories about the personal lives of activists and leaders to tarnish their reputations. Break-ins and theft of sensitive information were routine, with the FBI conducting numerous burglaries to gather intelligence on leftist groups, demonstrating their disregard for legal boundaries. The media often played a complicit role, helping to disseminate false information fed by the FBI, which significantly damaged the public image and effectiveness of various movements. The case of actress John Seberg exemplifies the extremity of the FBI's tactics, where false rumors about her personal life led to tragic consequences, highlighting the human cost of COINTELPRO. Overall, COINTELPRO represents a significant abuse of power by the FBI, using counterintelligence tactics against domestic political movements, leaving a legacy of distrust and injustice that echoes into modern times.
Hey, you patriots in the mix, jump on a P4 Liberty shop quick. Get your founding flavors brew, coffee with a rebel hue.
Keychains jingle, freedom's call. Shop for liberty, stand tall.
For the bold, the brave, the free.
A P4 Liberty shop's where you wanna be. So laugh, sip, wear your pride. With every purchase, feel inside that spark of fun, cool and edgy dreams. We're the Patriot shopping regime.
Hey, you patriots in the mix, jump on a P4 Liberty shop quick.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson, and you're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at Wake Up America Show, broadcasting live from Jefferson City, Missouri. Thankful to have you here. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to click that like button. Help us to spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. My next guest is an expert on that. All rise, the great Judge Andrew Napolitano, joining us live from New Jersey right now. Morning, Judge.
We speak the King's English here in New Jersey. Good morning, Austin.
My background in musical theater, Judge, has trained me well in all of the local and regional accents. I did West Side Story in college, so I had to emulate that one. But I appreciate you joining us here, Judge, today to talk about the news of the day. We were just chatting about the decision of the Federal Trade Commission to ban non-compete clauses for contracts for employees. This is something that people like you and I in the media, we are intimately aware of. What's your take on the FTC's action here?
My take is that it's unconstitutional. The Constitution prohibits the government from interfering with life, liberty, or property, and a contract right is somewhere between property and liberty without due process of law. I mean, even the Congress couldn't do this. Surely the FTC can't. Look, I don't like these non-compete agreements. I think they violate the right to contract. I think they diminish competition in the marketplace. But once you sign it, it's an agreement, and the government has no no ability to interfere with it. If they want to sue me because they don't like the fact that I have agreed to restrain myself and not compete with my employer, good luck. Ha! Where does the FTC, where does the federal government come off interfering with private contracts? Answer, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about natural rights. They certainly don't care about the right to contract.
One of the contracts that is in the news right now, it's a little more high profile, is this case of the young conservative podcaster Steven Crowder. And he is suing a former employee who was a producer of his because his non-compete contract, Judge, said he was not allowed to go work in any media institution at all, ever, for all time, forever. That seems a bit egregious, Judge. I mean, but still, you think people ought to be able to voluntarily give up any means of making a career in their chosen field for all time, Judge?
There is, I don't know who's suing whom here, but there isn't a court in the land that would enforce that. I mean, agreements not to compete have to be limited by, in order to be enforceable in the United States, have to be limited by time and geography. So you cannot contract away your right to work forever. Again, I would imagine Crowder is trying to stop this guy from competing with him. It would depend upon how long ago they had their breakup. Most covenants not to compete are only enforceable for 2 years. I've heard of them being enforced for 3. I never heard of one being enforced beyond 3 years.
Now, what about a non-disparagement one? I think that if I'm remembering correctly, that might actually be the bigger case there. If you're going to talk smack about an employer, is that the kind of thing that should last forever as well? Should you never be able? I mean, we both worked at a massive institution. I didn't have a non-disparagement clause with Fox Business, so I can say whatever I like. Maybe you did, but I mean, could they also force you into one forever? You could never say anything
Well,
bad about our former
that
employers.
is even more difficult to enforce because it runs squarely against the freedom of speech. It would constitute the judicial branch silencing somebody because of some improvident agreement that they made. This is why I am opposed to all of these things, and I favor freedom of competition, freedom in the marketplace, and freedom of speech. I'm not being critical of Crowder or this other fellow. I don't know either of them. They may be great battlers for freedom. They may have had good legal advice. They may not have had good legal advice. The geographical competition is less significant today because of the internet. It doesn't matter where you're located, but the time component, it simply can't last more than a few years. Otherwise, people would be contracting away their right to earn a living.
Judge, at the risk of sounding perhaps a little bit silly, I'm always curious about your thoughts on some of the deeper philosophical questions of libertarianism and where it runs up against our natural rights and the law, the Constitution itself. Because in terms of what sort of contract someone may enter into, it is illegal for me to enter into a contract that would put myself into indentured servitude in the United States. It is illegal for me to enter into contract which would place myself into slavery here in the United States. But Murray Rothbard, he contended with this, and he actually says, I think that it's reasonable to expect that if someone pays an employer to bring you over from Italy to the United States and to have you work for a number of years, 10 to 15 years as an indentured servant, that was a legitimate contract in Murray Rothbard's eyes. Um, should it be legal to sell yourself into indentured servitude at some point? What are your thoughts on that sort of
Well,
murky area?
I'm with Rothbard on that. The problem is the courts won't enforce it because the courts are not with Rothbard on that. I mean, in our minimum government world, you should be able to freely contract for anything you and the other person on the other side of the contract agree to, but the courts just won't enforce it.
I can't believe you just defended indentured servitude on this show.
Well, I didn't defend indentured servitude. I'm defending freedom of contract. I wouldn't enter into indentured servitude, although you might argue that my 24 years at Fox were a form of highly compensated indentured servitude. Listen, I'm not being critical of Fox. They were very generous with me. I just wish Roger Ailes were still alive and still running the place.
Yeah, no, I know he
As I think most people there and most veterans of Fox, like you and I, do.
Judge, um, on a cultural question, before we move on to Donald Trump's trial and the accusations of a criminal conspiracy of catch and kill, and we'll get into those things in just a moment. When you hear the phrase woke, that something has gone woke, I'm curious what